Hello, welcome to another stream. I am roasting chestnuts. Oh, whoops. That's probably fine. I'm hot off a therapy session. It was fine. I don't know. Is it therapy? I didn't really feel it. I don't know. It's like kind of different. It's like a crisis thing where they're like, you know, we're just kind of like checking in with you to make sure you don't kill yourself. So that's mostly what that was. I'm gonna listen to my microphone back because I'm worried about it buzzing. Every time I move my cord even a little bit, I'm just test. That's not the right thing. Test. Yeah, it's good. Okay. Alright, we're playing Warframe today. I feel like we're on the cusp of getting back into good progress. Not that we haven't been making progress, just, you know, it's been a little fuddy-duddy, a little bit of fruddy, snuddy-duddy, slutty. We'll go over everything in a second. I was gonna grab something. I need my book. That's what I need. I reoriented my room also. I have more space. I kept feeling like really claustrophobic. So this is better. Nobody does it sweater. I got new mic arms. I got one of these dual desk arm things that holds two monitors. So that would make me more space under them. I haven't installed them yet. They literally just got here. Well, I walked down after my therapy session and I'm just sitting down there. So I just came back up and I haven't actually been able to, you know, install them. You know what? I'm gonna take the sweater off. I'm already feeling like a little warm. And I'm not fucking with it today. We're going to be chill and cool. Alright, so I haven't got all the grinding we needed to do off stream done. I wasn't really feeling it last night. Actually, last night was kind of weird. I was really anxious. And I was kind of just laying down thinking. I just had music playing on Spotify, just whatever came on. And I was laying in bed, just kind of frustrated with everything. And I just kind of dozed off, even though I wasn't super tired, but I am behind on sleep by a severe margin. So, it was, you know, I fell asleep, woke up a few hours later, and started my day. That's not enough sleep. But that's fine. That's still very hot. Probably should have let the tea steep for longer. Yeah, I don't know. I'm having trouble with my to-do list. That trouble I'm still working on figuring out. I need to optimize it so I can get as many things done as early as possible. Or ideally everything. And my desk still feels very claustrophobic. Oh my fucking god, I'm gonna scream. Yeah, definitely looking forward to getting those arms installed. I'm gonna do that after the stream. 1 second, my mom was texting me. Oh no, that's Micah. Micah's texting me. Good luck on the stream, man. I don't need luck, I'm a professional. My mom is gonna make sourdough bread or cheese bread. She's asking if I have a preference. Either is good. I like them both. She's also going to make cinnamon raisin bread. Truly, we are blessed. Rosanda Micah's thick ass with the heart emoji. Heart. We're gonna go orange heart. No, yellow heart. You know what? Give me all of them. Give me all of them. Give me a red. Give me a fucking orange. A green, a blue, a purple. Not another red. Then you go back and you delete the second yellow heart that you put in by accident. And then you send it. Because he fills all of my hearts. We're gonna play Warframe now. Are you sure you want to exit the game? Actually not. So I did a little bit this morning, but I was like, I needed to be productive, which I wasn't. Well, I guess I was. I reoriented my whole room, but and it feels a little better. It feels nice that I have my back to something other than just the chair. But I did get. I got to level 18. I did Forma. I need this. Dude, I was feeling this lack of range so heavy. Which I guess makes sense because I have narrow-minded on. It was brutal. What did I do? We got a lot of mother tokens, which we're going to start with going to trade in. I don't know if I have enough to like fill my cap right away, but nope, that's not correct. I did not get the thing. What is it called? The cranial foremount. I just didn't get it. I tried for like 30 minutes. I got so much stuff, just didn't get the cranial foremount. I got a fucking nougat bar. You can't call it that. That's a slur to say. A nougat bar? Come on, man. You got confusion.
Go on, dear.
Alright, so let's start with... Oh yeah, we got a ton. Okay, so let's just max it out.
May you have much joy. Goodbye, dear.
And then... we can go rank up to the next level. I didn't even think of it. Is the free reward something that's going to be helpful? Oh, actually, it could be. It could save us a lot, actually. Oh, wait a minute. This could be huge. Okay, so we rank up. Now, we could get one of the blueprints we need to make a part. So this could actually be good.
The trust of this family is no small thing.
Oh! Times 3? Times 3? No, it's infinite, but you get 3. Right, okay. I confused myself. I was like, you only get... I don't know. I always read those wrong. I have a tea. It calms the nerves. Also, can we say big shout out to Micah, who's been sending me good mornings. Good morning, you got this, you're the man type texts for like multiple days in a row now. And I truly don't deserve his love and friendship. Oh, the Trumna. That's what apparently is pretty good. That is a tempting pickup. But I'm not gonna. But it is tempting. We are going to get, because these are the 2 we need, and they're 8k each. So we're going to get, we'll skip this one. Okay, that's good. I forgot that was going to be a thing. Oh, more connecting with our fam. Ugh. Sons in this?
Clearly you thrive in isolation.
Outside your control, shackling me was never going to work.
Shackling? You contaminated the family, and yourself. You had to be protected from these mad urges.
You were worried about me? Thank you for the overdue recognition.
Ugh.
Your restrictions will be eased.
I don't think they will.
I name you Kermos, the runner who outstrips his own shadow.
He really doesn't. He truly has not. He's still an asshole.
On Deimos, be aware of all things. Let us negotiate.
Oof.
Until our next appointment.
Expensive. You saw the weapons, right? Like, hypothetically, if I wanted to Trump them.
She was afraid she'd turn out like her mother. And she was right.
To be afraid, or she did? Not that expensive. Not that bad, except the Saraglass Shark could be a bit of a grind. I don't think I'm gonna go for it because I feel like I've been putting off my main goals.
Best for you. Don't go getting infested now.
I guess you know what's best for you. How about fuck you? How about that? You ever think of that one?
I have a chinwag.
You're...
Oh, magnificent.
Oh my god! Alright, let's do this, and then do all this. And that's our daily standing cap.
Scurry back quick. Skippity hop.
Actually, wait. Is that enough? Are we done?
We are good friends.
I think getting that
Good to have
today actually... I think getting that as a reward actually means we'll be done today. Alright, hold on. Let's do a once over here. Did I pull out a pencil? I swear I did. Where did it go? Did I put it back? Where did... No, I had a pencil. Fuck you, coward. Show yourself. Okay, maybe I put it back. Pencil. Alright, so here, let's look over this now. We got these. We need the cranial foremount still. I think we might be good to start building the Necromech, actually. We need Xenorhost. We need to make 2 of these. So we need 4 Xenorhost and 2 Embolos. And a cranial foremount. I think we're done. Yeah, I didn't take into consideration the fact that we get a free reward from ranking up. That saved us 8k standing. That is huge. Okay, big news. Big news. Okay, so we need to get a cranial foremount, 2 Ebolas, and 4 Trapezohedrons. Let's do this, Marines. I would love to get a cranial foremount in one try and not have this turn into like a thing. That's not what I meant to do. So I realized another thing I really wish they explained. Why am I so freaking speedy? I realized that these are different based on the, I guess, the symbol on the top. I guess. I'm not 100% sure still. So only some of them drop items, or some one of them drops more? I still can't really tell for sure. I don't know, it's a little strange, and I'm not sure. Alright, well, I think that's just about all that it had to offer. Hello? Sometimes they're just invincible. I don't get that. No, I feel like there's a lot of things here I just don't understand. Oh, blast, man. With the reduced range, that was brutal. Dude, the contact damage is chunky. Okay. Never lucky. Let's go. Wait, no. Is that the right place? Oh, no, yeah, we're good. We're going to the Cave of Wonders. I'm just gonna mine some damn diamonds. Do we need a little bit of luck because we need some rare stuff, but that's fine. I can do that. Luck is my middle name. Actually, if you consider first in line being the full name, then I guess In is my middle name, which is a terrible middle name. I also wish first in line was not my handle, and I really want to look into changing it here. This is not the cave that I wanted. Where am I? It was like, wasn't I here? Or is this further down? Yeah, I remember. Try and break my spirit? Never. It's up? Oh, tree ore. Drawer. I don't know if it's a certain color we're looking for. I don't remember how any of this stuff works. We're gonna have so much baffle it, you're not gonna know what to do with your damn. Oh! Oh! Oh, that's not what I need. Never mind. Okay. Is this where I was? No. Wait a minute. Wasn't I like over here? Is this it? I don't think it is. I think it was not here. I don't know what that is. Hold up. I think I'm misremembering. The abacus. Yeah, it has all the stuff on there, man. I think that's what I want. The blue surely provides what we all desire. Danaris Prime and Ash Prime return. Hey, Embolus. We need 2 of those? No. Yes. I don't remember. Can you look at your... I don't think you can look at your inventory out here, which is very strange. Was this the spot where there was like a huge cave that I was like vibing in, digging around in, having the time of my damn life in? The cave entrance over here. I can't see shit. I can't see. Okay, wait. Put the mining thing away. Get into the cave. Whoa. I don't think this is it. Hold up. No. But this is also fine. There are enemies coming after me, but when are there not? I always got ops on my D, brother. Someone always want a taste. Someone always want the strappy. What the fuck am I? Where was the spot I was digging in? Maybe it was just over here. I don't know. God, I feel uncomfortable today. I really just love feeling constantly agitated. Truly, honestly, and truly. Oh, maybe it's this. This looks proper. Right proper with it. There's nothing down here. This is the same spot I was in before. So maybe it's that other opening. No. Dude, I'm so fucked. You know what? Don't even worry about it. Don't waste your time with trying to find this. Just mine what you see. Now, unfortunately, I don't see much. I can't... Okay. We good? Can I mine in peace now? Don't mine at night. Do it all again! Where the fuck? This feels very overcomplicated so far. Okay. Undle at him. Just go in a cave. Just pick a cave, go in the cave, mine everything in the cave. Oh, this is it. How about that? It was just on the other goddamn side. Actually, I'm still not sure if this is it either, but it definitely looks promising.
I appreciate how much your kind enjoyed bathing in spilled ichor and viscera.
I appreciate that you'll never grow as a person, heavy air quotes, and you deserve death, and I wish I could kill you. I want you to die. That's not true. I don't kill people just because they're annoying. I mean, I don't kill people at all. That would be rude to do. I mean, if I ever do want to if I ever do want to try to get the trumming on them, it's good to grab some, you know, grab some ores. Like, everything we get that's extra will be helpful, I'm sure. Either for trading in, or having to make other things, or parts for the weapons. So I do want to start going for, because we're going to have to start building the Void Rig, and then we're going to have to, I think I want to try, well, I guess we'll do the Zaw, because we already started it. That's what I'll keep working on. It's my first of the few achievements I want to get before I'm done, heavy air quotes, with Warframe. Sisters below, going where the wind don't blow. Okay, there's a Zenor Host. It looks like a heart. Very cool. Which, I wonder if there's, wait, hold up. My brain's connecting pieces. Xehanort Heart, Kingdom Hearts, Xehanort Host. Kind of looks like a heart. I think there's a through line there. I'm not gonna look into it, but maybe. Hello? Please don't interrupt me while I'm mining. This is a very special and sacred time to me, and I would rather you not ruin it with your trying to kill me. Heavy emphasis on trying, you a little bitch. I really wish I could check my inventory here. I need to. Ugh. 4 Xeno. Or no, did I only need 2? No, I need 4 Xenohearts. 2 Embolos? I don't know, man. Let's just get 80 of each, and then I won't have to worry about it. I think that's a good call. Did this just change? Were there 2 there? Did I mess that up? Embolos. The noises. What is this? That's my carrier? Carrier? Not carry on. How? What kind of advanced mining techniques? Oh. I can't move my fingers and my hands as incrementally I'm Not good at that. Okay, well now there's nothing. Why am I so bad at moving small amounts? Hello. The bug. Gotta install aim beast so I can mine better in Warframe. If I've learned anything on today's stream. Oh my god. Cool. But like, not what I'm here for, but cool. What is this? The green sauce? Speaking of green sauce, green apple's such a goated flavor. That's all I have to say on the matter. Please, just let me mine, man. Every human deserves to mine undisturbed. That's the presidential platform I'll be running on.
Bravo! Annihilate that life form. Obliterate any morsel of data we might glean from it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's so much to learn from Small Rat. If you wanted to learn from a small rat, we just buy you a mirror. Fuck you. Holy shit, they got Dorito Dan to stream. Are you on illegal narcotics? Because that's illegal, narcotically. Hi, I'm narcotically. Beep, 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 beep. Whoa! Give me the sauce. 3 little circles? He looks like a face. I just blew his mouth off. I just blew his dad. I just blew his eye off. And... Oh! Oh! Take a look at this pin action. Oh, I got a Zinnerhaus and Oblios. I'm legit cheating on the beat. Alright. What's our totals? I think we're good on Embolos, but 1 more wouldn't hurt. And 2 more Zinners. Nice! You suck! Perfect. Perfect. Oh, it is too simple. Oh, I expected something more from my precision mining. Kinda fucked up. How do I have enough, like... I don't know, I assume the Necromech has to level up, like, a Warframe? So probably... I don't know, I might have to level it up before we do the quest. Could be a... I mean, maybe not a problem, but... An unforeseen issue. Well, I guess it is foreseen now. Get foreseen, loser. Okay. My hand's kind of cramping. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, double? Ooh. Alright, 1 more Zenner. Wait, oh, we got more than 1? Oh, we're at 5 now. Okay, never mind. We're good. Alright, let's get the hell out of here. And now we just gotta we just need a cranial foremount, and I think we're done. We got everything. Unless there's an unforeseen issue, which is likely. I'm kind of known for messing it up. That's kind of my brand identity. They call me Mess It Up Marvin. Go Marvin, mess it up. Hey, go Marvin, mess it up. Yep. And I say, okay, that's enough. Go home. And they're like, oh Marvin, you messed it up. No, brand's all about 30. Ooh. Bad joke, bad you. Alright. Loser! Rock. I got these guys just in this. For some reason, when it's just the pulsating one, these guys just do not work. Bing. 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 What is this noise? Bing. The fuck is this? Shut the hell up! Yeah, I don't know. These all do like different things, but I don't really get it. Maybe it's a necromech thing. Maybe that's what I don't get. Alright. Try this one. Like, I think we just have to get lucky with the right symbol, but then also get lucky again with actually getting the drop. Which is pretty chill. Double lucky. And also we have to get lucky that it spawns. But, like, less lucky. Seems like fairly likely. But, you know, there's still an element. There's many layers to this shit. I want to rip my skin off. Apropos of nothing at all. I'm so uncomfortable lately. So agitated. Wow! 7 cycles. Just once we got this, we're good. I was really hoping to not. I was thinking that I would be able to do this off camera still because we had to wait for the standing anyway, so I'd have to wait a day. But no, I gotta do it now. Did I even activate this? That's funny. That's funny. Is this the one? Okay. Are they fighting each other? I don't care. I mean, I don't care if they're gonna kill each other. I give you your stuff. 50 energy. Finally. I'm winning. That's a good song. Song recommendation of the millennia. It's not that good. I mean, it's pretty good. I don't know. Maybe I'll be listening to it a million years from now. Sundays. Like the day. Not like the ice cream. By, Again and Again. Freaking Slippy Slapper. The upbeat little hoppity hipping, hop hop hippity hop hop hipping banger. Does this give me movement speed? I guess it does. Must have just not ever noticed that. Circuits? Nanospores? Who are you people? Janet? Marty? and a nothing, and a nothing, and we get a nothing. I don't know where any other ones are. These are just the 2 I go to, and then I reset. But I don't know, maybe now that I think about it, maybe one of each spawns every time, so if I knew where they all were, I guess I would be faster. I could probably look it up, but I'm not gonna do that. Alright, I might do that. Because like, I don't know if that's actually how it works, but if one of each spawns, I went to type well, first of all, I don't know how to spell Deimos, but I also went to type Deimos RS3 because I'm just a freak. Deimos Warframe, and then lore and history. No, I want. What do I want? Or no, not Deimos. That's just the planet. What is this? Cambrian drift or something? Cambian drift. Okay. Interactive map. Blink pad, Requiem obelisks. Okay, I see where all the... There's like 4 beside each other. Who's pissing? Okay, there's like a lot more than I thought there were. So we'll start with this one. But I guess there's also a chance that they'll just have it out there. Oh, you know what? I gotta open my stream discussion. I gotta open it properly. Just in case. Just trying to set that precedent in my head. But also, if I ever recommend a song, I can just go, hey, I open Spotify, and then I go to the song, and then I click on the song, and then I share, copy link, and then I can just put it in there. But isn't that, like, much easier? Alright, well this one didn't have anything, but now we go... It's like around this edge. So we guess up here, I guess, and work our way down. Greetings! Give me your innards! Hello, I'm here for your innards! Oh my god, there's so much in that. With just having my ability range lowered, I didn't even think about it until I was suffering from it. But just having my ability range lowered was so brutal. Is that it? Okay. Kind of a coward for that one, I think. Sick movement. I don't understand this at all. Okay. This one, like, here-ish? I think. Is it in the cave? Caved David? I'm not going in there. Caving Daving? If this is my life, then I'm Tokyo drifting. Oh! Oh! I think the one I'm suddenly realizing the value of the one that lets you chain void links even, or void slings quicker. Check this shit out. Just kidding. I fucked it up. What do you stab him? I'm out of here. I tried to shoot my own guy. I thought he was a murder man. Where the funk is this thing? This other one already did. Gosh, I'll be Gugaki'd if I remember. I'll be fucking pastrami bitch. Please, I have but one Bumble request. I love the animation for the 3 when it, like, pulls in and then just feels so powerful. Like you're really charging up to fuck their days up. Which I am, and I do, and I will, and I do. That all we got here? No, I don't. Fuck you! Fuck you, fandom, you suck! We had an official Warframe wiki so I can stop being sad at looking at the fandom wiki. It's just shit reeks, man. How's a bunk pad? Oh my, fuck you! Stop with the sidebar, man. It's putting shit on my damn screen. I was minding my damn business eating some damn fruit. Please! Oh yeah, I forgot off camera, I also got that visual thing. I don't remember what it was called. The, like, shoulder thing. I unlocked the variations, but I don't know what it looks like. I haven't looked yet. Pustulant cognitive nodule, positive cognitive nodule, positive bottom and marginal, this nodule. What is this? What do you mean? He's making contact? Okay. That's funny. Warframe, I will literally eat a pair of scissors on stream if you don't give me what I desire. I leveled up, that's fun. I like that. I swear, I can't tell if I'm making it up. It really feels like using the amp gives me more stuff. But I feel like I might be coping. And or camping. But also, I swear to God, it like spews stuff out of the top when you get, like, sometimes. What the hell? It's doing its duty to drop bombs? I think, therefore I amputate arms? Like, I can't tell if that's this thing that just does this. Maybe it's just this thing that does that. It's just giving me nothing I need. Dude, I have no idea. Oh my God, the babies are screaming. Alright, well, we got stuff. We got tubercular gill system. Big fan of his work. Dude, I'm gonna pull my skin off. I'm serious. I feel like no matter how I exist, I'm not comfortable. Get off. I don't know, I feel like I'm getting more variable stuff when I do this. I think that might be the case. If I stealth, they fall off me. The guy just sinks. Dude, I don't know. Maybe I am. I'm getting way more stuff, but I can't tell if it's a coincidence or actually what's happening. I zoinked that guy and the thing came out. I don't know, man. I'm just gonna do it because maybe. Fish, get back here! Hello, haptic front. Look, stuff. Maybe that's the trick. Sure would have liked it if someone explained that to me. And I'm not referring to chat. I mean, like, the game. What is this? Ding! Ding! Someone's smithing steel kite shields in Burthorpe? Sorry, I couldn't help but murder all the bugs. But maybe shooting them individually would have been the move. There are foes afoot? There are foes with foot fetishes? Ugh, I keep hoping I'll open it and I've gotten one and I just didn't see it. And at this point I can't tell if I'm unlucky or if it's just like the world's rarest item. There's no way. I'm definitely getting more stuff doing this. Maybe that's been my problem. The bad luck is you get a good looking RS. Honestly, it's not worth it. No matter what, someone's pissed in. At least here it's less documented. Like, there are less people watching this. It's less people to get pissed. Also, First in Luck kind of is just a phenomena that it permeates through all video games. Except, not right now. I turned it off in the settings. Just wanted to see how the other side lives. Wax and waning, wax and waning, wax and waning. You've go-karter energy! Sorry, that doesn't mean anything. I quite like go-karting. Haven't been in many a moon. The last time I was anything go-kart adjacent was I remember I got like every flavor of item except the one that I need. I remember being at a fair and bumper karting and being like god awful at it, to the point where the guy running it was like, you don't have your license, do you? And I was like, no, I don't. Then he hit me. He really did. This guy really lacks oomph. Kind of a loser. What do you mean this is me? No. Where's that other one? Open up the taco to the burrito, motherfucker. Just for future reference, the title is going to be I'm sick of coming up with titles for 400,000 years. This is not a one-day thing. I'm like dead ass tired of coming up with titles, and honestly, I don't care. Like, well, it doesn't matter. I don't care about growing. I don't. If people want to watch, they can. If the people don't, if the title is the, I don't know. I just like don't care if I grow at all. So I don't feel the need to make a title that's like doing this. Bah, 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 whoa, whoa, come check it out. Whoa. It's just exhausting. I just don't care. Which is why I mostly just started putting song lyrics as my titles. That it was like literally a song I've just been listening to a lot, or listen to that day. That guy's been dead as hell. I don't know why I'm still shooting him. Damn, you're half the man you used to be, bro. Whoa, I'm dead the man I used to. Why am I here? I mean, I know why, but I don't want to be. Hello. Well. I can do titles. Nope. Absolutely not. Why? Sometimes they just decide that they're invincible for a bit, and honestly, grow up. Ocular stem root. Oh. That's it. I can think of a second bar that wasn't horrific or demonizing. Oh, yeah! I'm back, bitch. Feral diploid. Okay. Namelon. Diametrite. Just so many different items, none of them being the one I deserve. I got one! Get me the fuck out of here. Name this one the Burger Man is back in town. Yeah, see, that's why I said no. I don't think you... I feel like there's been a disconnect here. I don't want to do that. Oh, blessed. Get me out of here. Christ. Sorry, 1 second. I need to get this out of my head. Alright, sorry. Yeah, we should have everything we need. Let's get the fuck out of here. Close this. It's been an hour, but I haven't done anything. Okay. First of all, Void Rig. Void Rig Capsule. Booyah. Void Rig Casing started up. And then we need... I just type in Void. We make you. I mean, I saw that came up when I typed Void, but I don't know why that came up. Oh, because that Void's in the description. Okay, what was the other one? Oh, maybe it's just up here. There's a bunch of ores here. Let me you. Let me just wait for those to be done, and we can start all the pieces. All the pieces.
Ready for action.
Or does I just start? I haven't even thought about anything yet. Just chill, dude. Get off my freaking crack, dude. Duration. Alright, I did it. See ya. I thought about proforma-ing my Fulman, because, like, you know, I mean, we still got 2 spots, so that's, like, a lot of potential space to use up, but I don't know. I'm like, if I get Fulman Prime, do I bother? But then I'm kind of also like, I might not bother, because I don't know, I want to move forward with my objectives of getting the quest done and my certain achievements I want done. Okay, make 1 more of these. But I'm trying to avoid the super grindy stuff for now. Trying to keep a more short-term focus.
Has completed a blueprint. Check the foundry.
Wait, what was that thing? Sigils? Oh yeah, these. So I had these? 1,000 enemies defeated. It's like barely different, but okay. Now I have the emergent one. It's like literally, it may as well be the same item, but okay. Maybe it's just the colors that are making it look that way. Opening Warframe. I feel like I remember seeing Cobra and Crane high on the tier list for melees. But, I mean, I also have the CM, which I think is kind of just also up there.
Knock, knock.
Now, who would be knocking all the way out here? Operator, I don't think you should answer that.
Oh, never mind. Cobra and Prime. Oh, never mind. Yeah, no, it's like bottom of A tier. Apparently, the Siam is. Where is it? It's like one of the best. It's like almost, according to Overframe, obviously. Again, very. However much that weight that holds. Okay, now we can start making the weapon pod. Casing's going, weapon pod's going, and the engine is now going. And in 12 hours from now, we will start the Void Rig, which will take another 72 hours. So while we're doing that, and we're doing a lot of waiting, that's, while we'll get some other achievements done that I have as goals to get done before the series concludes. So we'll delete this. That's building. Alright, so just to reiterate, there were 6 achievements I wanted to go for before I finished playing Warframe, on top of doing all the quests. So where we're at now is we needed the Necromech to continue doing quests, we need the Necromech for the new war. I could do the other 2, but I kind of want to keep focused on the story I was on, which is that the Lotus is like, I can't remember her real name. I don't know. She's got like Tukist. It's the whole thing. It was really cool. And then we kind of hit the wall with the Necromech, but that's cool. We'll get there. So I also had 6 achievements I wanted to do. MOA money, MOA problems, which is just to get a MOA. Thought it might be interesting. I don't know what they entail, so maybe it could just be like I go in and buy it and then it's done. It might not be that interesting at all, but I don't know. That's part of the experience, bitch. Forge and Fire, which is to make a Zaw, which I will never use, but I thought it'd be cool. But I don't know, maybe it's good. I don't think it is, though. But maybe. I don't know. Savior of Sedna, which is just to beat the boss on Sedna, which we have done. That's the one we are done. The Great Eidolon Hunt, which is to beat, I believe, an Eidolon Terrorist. I think the Hydralist is the big boss. But I think the Terrorist is the one that's just, you have to like beat like 3 of them to get the Hydralist. But I think the Terrorist is just the one that is chilling. I wish this does have a search bar. The Great Eidolon Hunt. Defeat an Eidolon Terrorist. I don't feel strong enough to do that yet, but that's something I want to work on. Combat. What is this? There's a timer? Where did that come from? Wait a minute. Wait, that's a sick feature. I don't know when I'd use that, but that's really cool. Was that always there? I don't think so. You can minimize all your windows. Dude, that's hot. Okay. Getting a Necromech was actually on there, but it kind of worked out because I also needed it for a quest. Steel Path, which I think... sorry, wait, I'm getting out of order. Getting a Necromech and the Steel Path were like side things that I wanted to experience because I knew they were a thing, but I don't know what they fully entailed. But the Necromech just happened to line up with a quest. Steel Path, I think, is a reward from a quest. I think. I don't know yet. We're working on it. But for the achievements, there's the Great Idol Hunt, and the last one was Combat Specialist, which is for completing 3 sorties. But I didn't know if it meant, because a sortie is broken up into 3 parts, from what I can tell. So I didn't know if it meant just finishing all 3, or if it meant like 3 different ones. But my goal is to at least do 1 of them. Maybe I won't do 3, but at least 1 of them. Like a one set of 3 missions. So we might not get that achievement, but we'll see. My only thing is I'm like, you know, it's a level 80 to 100 mission. So I'm like, I feel like I gotta be like goated. So I worry that my goal to not, I don't know, like I wanted to get like a S tier weapon. Again, by Overframe standards, which might be I don't know, might be the Warframe standard. I genuinely have no idea. It's just the website I found. So I'm like, kind of like, maybe I should polarize this, but I'm also kind of like, maybe I should take the time to get a better weapon, because I have... Well, it's possible. For sure. But it would take all... my big thing is all the grinding. just the amount of grinding that I don't really want to do on stream. So I'm like, I don't know. What's just, I guess, out of interest, is there a primary weapon I can get that maybe I'm close to? I mean, like, there's the Cedo, which is apparently pretty good, but that takes. I mean, we can go check. I know we checked a while ago, but I don't know. Things are different, a little different now here because we made some progress. Maybe it'll look less intimidating now. But apparently, like, it's up there. But I also see that it. But I don't know. I don't know if it's like the Exceltra where it's like the mods are like if I don't have the right mods, I'm gonna feel like absolutely pissed. But we'll see.
My son knew.
Oh, I still have to rank up.
We all suffered because of his rashness.
Yeah, that's crazy,
It
man.
was a fair punishment.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Launch a glaze. Okay, well, maybe that's out of the question, and that's doing. But the Trumna is, I think, bottom of S tier. So I'm kind of like, we could try that. I mean, I'll show it, just for context. So, like, we have... That's not the right monitor. Why does it keep changing what monitor I'm showing? Like, we have the Exceltra, and it's been okay, but I think it just needs, like, I think it feels more mod dependent than other stuff. Like, I don't have, I mean, I guess I could use regular cryo rounds. Vital Sense feels very important. Maybe it's better to just, instead of grinding for weapons, maybe I just grind for the mods. Maybe that'll be a little less tedious. Not tedious, but like, I don't know. Like like I always say, I don't mind the grinds. I don't know. I'm one of those weirdos that enjoys them. It's more just the streaming them is the part that I don't like. So I think maybe our best option is to just look at the rating. Give me highest rated. Oh, it is this. Oh, it is already sorted by that. Now, what does this do? This feels. No, I mean this. Oh no, this is it. The highest ranked one is the. Oh no, it's not. Oh no, wait, maybe it is. This is in a different order. I think it's all the same stuff. This is in a different order. No, there's no galvanized chamber. Projectile speed. That feels not good. Like, who can... The bolts are gonna get there. I don't agree with that. But also, what the fuck do I know? Maybe that's sick. Maybe that's integral to it working. I don't know. It doesn't sound good, but... Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do is, yeah, instead of focusing on getting a new gun, let's focus on how we can improve the guns we have. I think the biggest thing...
I can't tempt you.
I'm sure... Shut up! Shut up! Don't talk to me! Don't talk to me! I think Vital Sense is a big one. Like, 120% crit damage seems insanely big. I typed Vital Sense, almost typed RS3. It's like, it just pushes me. It's in my brain. I mean, I could buy one. That could save time. I could just buy one from someone. This guy has good ratings. it's like the chance of getting one is... It's not that bad, but it's like, what, AABC. So I have to do 4 waves of infested salvage just for a 14% chance. Oh, is that what average per roll means? Oh, yeah, quantity X chance. That makes sense. So you want the highest, probably average per roll. Oh, it also is the highest. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Audience wonders, what are you thinking about?
I'm trying to figure out how to play this fucking game, Mortis. That's what I'm goddamn thinking about. Enemy drop rates. That seems even less likely. A lot of people in the comments are vouching for Ceres. I don't know how to pronounce this word. Doing this mission. 3rd wave. Or Kadesh. Oh. Kadesh on Mars. Oh.
Oh, I win! I am having so much fun with you, little meat. Ooh, what shall we play next?
A lot of people are saying Kadesh. What I call my wiener, little meat. Good one. Good one. Alright, let's see. Kadesh. Can confirm Kadesh on Mars. Wave 15. Thank you to everyone who recommended Kadesh on Mars. Got it on my first try. This is from 2019. As of Corona season 2020, it doesn't work. What doesn't work? Tried to farm in... Oh, he's posted a comment twice. The last one before that was... Tried to farm in Kadesh for a few days, can't get it, give up. Etc., etc., other bullshit, I don't care. So he just decided it doesn't work because he got unlucky, which is not how that works, a fandom user. Just because you got unlucky or could be doing something wrong doesn't mean it doesn't work. And then after this... Oh, and then he posts a 3rd comment saying he got it there. What? Oh no, they're all a fandom user. There's your guess. I thought he was just a... Okay, that makes way more sense. I was like, what? The same guy posted that he got it next? No, okay, so it was not the same dude. It was just, that's what they call a guest account, is a fandom user. Which is a little confusing, but sure. It kind of sounds like a tongue-in-cheek username. A lot of people are saying Kadesh, even after this guy just decided that it doesn't exist there. Arbitrarily, because he didn't get it. I mean, I'm sure we're probably not gonna get it like first try or anything, but I'll do this once on stream, and then we'll
You must defend our equipment until reinforcements arrive.
and then sorry, I'm not stable. We'll give it. We'll I don't know. It's it's establishing the grind as we do. Not that it really needs to be that established. It's a defense mission. So I think they said get to wave 15, and then run it back. I probably should have brought weapons to level. This is a very low level mission. I'll just try to spam abilities. If I'm gonna get XP, or the only thing I can get, I ran out of energy. Did I not use my 3? I did. But I suck. Alright, well. Yeah, I should have brought weapons to level up. Fumbled the opportunity, to be sure. I think it's like, wait, do I get energy back based on train? I don't, can't be bothered right now to look into it. Ugh. I really do wish you would stop calling me Little Meat. I can't wait to murder her. Did I write the Kuvalich? Oh yeah, I don't think I read it out loud. So yeah, mo money, mo problems. That which does not kill us, which is we're killing the Kuvalich. That's another reason where I'm like, I think we should get a stronger weapon or level up, because the Kuvalich missions, I mean, seem freaking tough. And I'm freaking not tough. I am moderate at best. If I could change your mind, in black and white. And I can just take a nap. Hit one every once in a while. Every once in a while. Ha ha! One. It's the same word that I said before. I have achieved comedy. Anyway, yeah, no, this is fine. Cool. I guess, well, it's, I don't know, I'll keep reading the comments. I close the page. I mean, what's the latest comment that said that they got this here? 2024, literally a month ago. Not even. Like a couple weeks, someone said, got a second try at Wave 15 on Kadesh Mars, so. Shout out to the Warframe community, I know you always got my back. That's actually not true. I don't know y'all. Damn! Stole his damn frame rate! There's a video game idea, something, I don't know, the base concept is something about stealing your enemy's frame rates to become a smoother, more powerful being. The rest of the elements you'll have to figure out yourself, but there's the base of the idea. That'd be $10,000 also. I'm very poor, please, I need the money. I want to buy a fucking hot tub and put it in my living room. I think just do this as well, just kind of like, go ahead, come on in, the water's electric. Kill him. Oh, he died. What's going on over here? I don't know. Now that I think about it,
Continue to defend. You will be rewarded for your bravery.
I don't know. I guess I guess in that Kuva Lich mission I did, it was like it was more about just being overwhelmed than a disruption mission. Though if my kill times were higher, it would have been less of a problem. Or lower, I guess. So I mean, it's never gonna hurt to have a better gun, but I think maybe part of it maybe was just the mission type. But we still made progress. We still beat her and moved on to what I assume is the second phase. I assume you got to beat her like 3 times, and then maybe there's like a big fight. I don't know how it works. That's why I want to experience it. Welcome to the Circus of Value. Now there's a game I could play again. I'm having a seizure. I mean, I could play BioShock. That was a fun game. Also the twist, go crazy. Also they got it's a great atmosphere. I wish the remakes were better. I feel like they could have really, like, modernizing that environment could have been so cool. But instead they did the bare minimum and it sucks. Speaking of doing the bare minimum, speaking of remakes, I was so excited for the Bait and Kados remake. I don't know if I've said this on stream already. If I'm repeating myself, I apologize, because I know I've talked about it with other people off stream. But they just decided they're not going to put the English voice acting in the Bait and Kados remakes, and I'm like, alright. I guess enjoy not having my money. Like, what? That's so weird. Like, apparently, from what I read, apparently the voice acting in the first one's, like, not great, and, like, the audio quality's really bad. But you know, now that I'm saying this out loud, I definitely have talked about this on stream. But, like, I played, like, I mean, just to finish the thought for people who might not have heard it, like, the second, I mean, I firsthand experienced the voice acting in the second one, and it's amazing. It's so impassioned. It's fantastic. And losing that is like, yeah, that's enough for me to not bother. Especially because the reason they gave was such a load of shit. It kind of just was nothing. Like, I wish I could remember what they said specifically to recount it, but it doesn't matter. I don't know. Honestly, I'm mostly like, usually I'm pretty pro remake, but I think when remakes happen, it's either from the perspective of like a cash grab or just redoing the same game. But like I'm for the Final Fantasy VII type remakes where they're like, hey, we had this like amazing thing here that people loved, but there was a little bit of like, you know, because of the time and the tech we had at the time, we couldn't like fully reach that dream. But now we can. Speaking of the tech, speaking of the time, I've been watching like Unreal Engine stuff a lot. Shit is crazy. Like the stuff you can do with nanites, and what you can build, and the meta-humans, a little kind of like, it's kind of freaky sometimes. A little disturbing. Without the, like, I guess without refinement, I don't know. Sometimes I look at them and I'm like, what the hell? But they had that, like, Captain America game trailer, which I saw a part of, and it looked really good in that. And this is just crazy. The stuff you can do. Alright, let me see if I can find that. Captain America game trailer. Unreal Engine 5. I spelled engines wrong as shit. Rise of Hydra. I haven't actually watched this, and I will watch it off stream, but I'll link it. Actually, wait. Not that link. Not this link. No. I don't know which one's the official one. I can't tell. I'm looking at the GameSpot ones, and it kind of just looks like they were like, yeah, we can upload this. That's how it reads to me. I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's more official than that. Is it this? I think it's this. Oh. I mean, there's a lot of dislikes for some reason. I mean, I don't know. People are probably pretty over the Marvel stuff, which is, like, fair, but also... I mean, I'm mostly just talking about how good it looks. The subject material, I have no opinion on. Double Trick Mag! Double Trick Mag!
Another opportunity to extract will appear soon.
I don't know. I'm, like, Marvel-wise, I'm like, you know, I pick and choose with Marvel stuff. Personally. I do think I can see why it would be, like, oversaturated. But, like, I'm not gonna hate it just because there's a lot of it, because that seems like a bad reason to hate things. If there's a lot of something and it's, like, phoned in and low quality, sure. I don't know if it is. I haven't seen it. I can form my own opinions, to be honest. To be a little derisive on your ass. No, but, like, for real, like, you know, I'm not... I mean, there's a lot of it, but that never felt like a good reason to dislike something. It felt a little baseless. But I think I'm also a little biased because, like, I don't know. I feel like I've seen a lot of that sentiment with, like, Final Fantasy, where there's, like, oh, there's a lot of them, so, like... It must all be phoned in garbage, and, you know, sometimes. But a lot of it is, like, really, like, meticulously handcrafted, like, labors of love. Apparently 16 is amazing. Which I really want to play. I don't know. I feel like I'm not a great... I'm not a great person to ask for opinions on things because I feel like I like too much stuff. I feel like maybe I'm not as discerning as I should be. But also, I guess I don't know why I'd care to be. Because I just like stuff. And that's cool. Because I like stuff. As opposed to not. But sometimes I do wonder if I'm not discerning enough, but I guess ultimately it doesn't matter. Because I'm not doing it for other people. Anyway, all that to say, or not all that to say, but the whole reason I linked it was because it just looked graphically really sharp. Well, it's an understatement. It looks insane. And I'm very excited to see what can be done with it. Especially with, like... I don't fully understand the nanite stuff, but my understanding of it currently, and, like, I super take this with a grain of salt, is that, like, you can do some, like, insanely complex-looking things without absolutely annihilating people's computers. Like, it's kind of the same... It's like a normal maps in that same way, where you can, like, add a lot of detail without adding a lot of hardware requirements. I think. But I don't know. I've heard for me it's just been like a word I keep hearing, and every time then like they're like, oh, look at what nanites can do, and I'm like, that looks cool. I don't really know what that means fully, but it looks cool. I think the most impressive thing to me is like learning that stuff is crazy. Learning how to make that stuff seems insane. Like I wanna watch like the person behind. Like what's the dude who invented the whole nanite thing, or maybe the group of people? I don't know. I feel like that guy's got He's like the dude in Invincible Season 2 whose brain is kind of just pouring down his back because he's too brained. He's too intellectual. He's like I imagine that's what I imagine when I think of the guy who, like, not the dude who learns how to use Unreal, but the dude who made Unreal and also made it accessible. And like stuff, like anything like coding, like how do you... Like, imagine making a coding language. Imagine being the dude who made C++. I knew his name, but I can't remember it right now. He's got the hair. You know. That seems so crazy to me. How do you even do that? What auto-tuned ass ghoul? Is my 3 still active from when I used it at the start of the mission? That's kind of nuts. No haters allowed. Alright. Done in one by chance? First in luck? Pressure point? Alright, I'll try to get it off stream. For now, we'll focus on some more low-key stuff. So we've been doing, like, difficult grinds and...
I didn't say you could play here.
Oh my god, could you imagine if she fucking stole it if I got it? Wait, that's actually a wait a minute. Hold up. I am foreseeing an issue, suddenly. Speaking of weird cloth physics, the video I watched also showed off, like, cool cloth physics. Dude, also, I'm just gonna link the video I watched yesterday. It was so cool. I keep remembering parts from it. There's, like, that, like, thing that, like, the animation can predict parts of itself thing. Also, Slay the Spire 2? What the fuck? Let me find this. This one. If you're interested in the bullshit I'm spewing. I thought it was so cool. But yeah, it's just like the animation thing where, like, they can, like, predict an animation and, like, smooth things together to look more real. I don't know the specifics or all the jargon. It's just... No.
Me too.
You know what? I was gonna go for the Zaw, but I'm kind of wondering if we can get this lady off this planet so I can grind safer on camera. I mean, off camera. But this will be a good tester, because then... I mean, I think either way, I want Vital Sense for my current guns. Like, to just put it on the Fullman, because we do have 75% crit chance. So either way, it's going to be useful. Because I was mostly thinking of it primarily as, like, having it for this, like the Kuvalich, but... I don't know. So I was thinking, get the mod, then start working on it, but now I'm thinking, get her the fuck out of here so I don't get the mod stolen. Just checking if I have it by chance. I'm just pretty sure I didn't, but, like, I don't know. We could fuse some mods. We never do that. I have 97 pressure points. What if I just fuse it? Select only one mod to begin fusion. Is that how that works? No, fusion is a different thing. I'm thinking of transmuting. I have to pay? Ammo okay, well that's definitely not happening.
Most satisfactory.
Absolutely untrue. Alright, well let's just see what we can do. Spy. Excavation. I feel like if I do the wrong thing, I'll just lose. Control territory, exterminate. Okay, sure. Like 50 to 60, I think I can handle. I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't have a good gauge on it because the way this game gives you information is a little funky.
There is a large platoon
What
of
the
Green
fu-
being stationed here. Leave no one standing.
Alright, well, let's see how this goes. I don't know. I want to get a gauge on if I'm strong enough for this, honestly. Okay, maybe we're fine. Like, we're not, like, absolutely blasting them, but, like... What the fuck was that vertical air hump? Yo, call me vertical air hump. Yeah, the foreman is under-delivering a bit here. I have the cam melee to get this done. I'm just thinking, like, if we can at least get her to the, like, learn what the next emblem sigil thing we need is. And then get her the funk out of here. That'd be good. Yeah, my sword is the only thing that seems to be able to keep up. Only 999 more kills to go. I'm definitely not tanky enough for this. Requiem Murmur. Maybe that thing's. I thought that line at the top right was filling, but maybe it's not. What the fuck do you want? Leave! I don't give a shit what you want.
Stay focused. There's a heavy unit approaching.
Oh my god! I did it. My signal's disrupted on my miniature map? Who did that? Freyon Gooey, so true. Finally someone said it. Yeah, I'm not even gonna try to front by pulling out the formula. We just gotta get it done with melee. Or I'm going to die. So I guess I don't... Yeah, I don't think I need to keep killing these dudes. I thought I was working my way up to something, but I think it's just... The second thing I need is Requiem Murmur. And that's it. That's the intel. Hee. Alright, let's take a regen break. Regenning. I'm regenning. I'm regenning. Yeah, I'm regenning. You are stupid. Oh my god, right up the damn urethra. That's fucked up, man. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. I'm getting you. Coward! So I guess these are now just like annoying strong enemies and not actually providing me with anything other than getting in my goddamn way. It's okay. Like, I don't need to finish this whole thing in this stream, but if I can just move the needle and make it so that you can't take my stuff, I'd be much happier. Please come down here. Are you still up there? Was that you? That was a different... No, that was you. I keep... Probably haven't noticed. It's been pretty subtle, but I keep misspeaking.
Stay focused. There's a heavy unit approaching.
Let me just keep the lockdown. Yeah, keep it low, you know? Got enough problems. Where did... He went up? Oh, I see. What the hell? Canceling? Now? No, we're not doing that. Well, it went better than I thought it would go. So I feel a little... I don't know, only camping my melee feels kind of weak, but... You got to make do.
Well done. Now get to extraction.
Oh, come on. Let me cheat a little. So what? I broke a little sequence. Sequences are meant to be broken. Oh, it was like 2 steps the other direction. Same.
Everyone pays in my playground, one way or the other.
Well, she could have taken my corrupted Lancer Spectre blueprint. Oh, whoa. Okay, so now I think the issue is I need to get the murmur thing, and I don't think I have that. I think. Is it right? Upgrade. Or, no, that's... What? Known Requiems. Can you explain this to me again, maybe? Drag compatible. I wish I could. There must be a tutorial on that, because I know I feel like I read it once. Oh, yeah, maybe it's in the here. Oh, tutorial.
No. Don't make me forgive you. Not again.
Okay. Defeat this adversary with the power of mysterious Requiem mods. Requiem mods can be acquired from Requiem relics found in Kuva Siphons, Thralls, and Hounds, and Kuva Floods. Collect Murmurs by defeating... Okay, so we have the Murmur. Equip the known Requiems.
Ordis wonders, what are you thinking about?
And battle Adirda to determine the correct sequence. In regions containing your adversary's influence, Adirda may steal your rewards. Defeat Adirda to recover your losses. Oh, I get it all back! Lure Adirda out of hiding by defeating Thralls or Hounds in controlled areas. Do I have controlled areas? Okay, so I need to open Requiem mods, I think, and get a Murmur? No, the Murmur is the thing. No. I don't know. Is a Murmur a thing? There's Jahu Vom? No, there's no way one is called Murmur. Wait, okay, now I'm not understanding. I'm missing something. Hold up.
Remember how much fun we had when you killed me?
Equip the known Requiems on your... so maybe I have to do Zakta first? And then I can get the next one? Maybe I'm like locked out of doing this until I get the right one. Or is that equipped? How do I equip them? Maybe... Oh, they must be mods. Yeah, they're mods. That makes sense. Okay, so I need Zata, I think. So I need to open you, but then I also need to get lucky. So I need to... Well, shit, okay. So... Ow. I need... Like, I mean, I guess ideally max Void Relic, or Void Traces. To have the best chance. We're back to Void Traces. Frick! Okay. Okay, so I think that must be where I got hung up. So I think the murmur... Maybe it doesn't go forward until I...
If all those I've killed were alive right now, do you know what they'd say?
I guess?
Let me out! Let me out! Where am I? Oh, Void, it's so dark! Ah!
She ate them. That's cool.
Ready for action.
I guess that's what happened? Or what's happening?
Right before someone dies, their last word is almost always no. It was my last word to you. Remember.
No. I don't know who the fuck you are. No, I'm very... even with the explanation, I feel like there's still something I'm missing.
When skinning a person alive, hypothermia is a risk. The victim may die too quickly. Remember this, should we ever meet in a warm room.
But this is the part I'm not getting. It says collect murmurs to learn the known requiems. But I'm getting murmurs and nothing's happening? Equip the known requiems to determine the correct sequence. So I guess I have to do that. I don't know. It's like that. It's got that classic Warframe thing where it's not explained quite right. So it's more confusing than anything. Alright. Well, that's annoying because now I have to get more fucking Void Traces. There's so many. They have the cap at like 700. Like, whoever gets to that. Alright, well, let's pivot then. No. Because if I do Kadesh off camera, I don't want to... Ugh. I don't want to risk getting the thing taken. So I think I gotta just try to get this now. How many do I have? 41. Alright, I guess I'll open this. I don't really care that much. And I'll do it with other people, just to increase the chances. So we'll do a couple missions, just to get, get enough Void Trace, or we'll do, hopefully just something repeating. Defense, sure. Not that one. I'm gonna save the ones with the wisp stuff, just in case. Maybe these, yeah, no, not this one. This one's fine. So we'll do the S18s. Just until I get enough, we need like what? We had 44, so like 56-ish, give or take. I don't remember the exact numbers. Void Traces. And then we can upgrade the Requiem Relic. Hopefully get what we need, but I guess statistically it's not... I mean, there's like a decent chance, but it's not like...
The enemy is at our doorstep.
Guaranteed by any
We
means.
must defend our equipment until reinforcements arrive.
Does it work for
Void
people?
Fishers,
Yeah, it's
you
fine.
need them to open a relic, but are you confident you can withstand their fury?
No. That's someone's pet. Very cool.
The corrupted enemies are dropping reactant. Collect it.
Hello.
Open your void relic. The reactant is working on your relic. Find more.
Oh, there's a wisp here. That makes sense. Okay. And then, yeah, I guess on the off chance that we get something that other people want, we'll get a little more void traces. So, and maybe we'll get a reward from them that we like. And then we can give them void traces, and thus helping with their potential future grinds. Because it seems like, well, I mean, I guess you don't need the void traces, but it sure makes things a lot more likely to fall into place. Don't really like the idea of half-assing it. Firestorm Gamer is gone. These are troubling times, to be sure. Hello. I wanted to work on the Zal thing because it was like, it sounded chill and straightforward, but I want to be able to, you know, get vital sense and not be scared that she's just gonna take it. What a foe, Lord. I'm sick of being called names by these Grineer. Where do they get off? Okay, buddy. I accidentally decorated the damn tree. Activate laser. No, that's probably necessary. At least I hope. Alright. Woohoo! What's everyone else using? Oh, I guess I can't see that. Oh, no, wait, no, I can. Wisp Hydroid Prime. Oh, it tells you, I didn't even notice it. It tells you what relic you're opening. They got all sorts. God, this is a lot. Oh, low level on Rotor Swell? I didn't even realize it was only level 1. What's that opening? Did a new wave start? I've lost myself in the brilliant chaos. Can you even be outscaled at a certain point in this game? Like, if you just have a team of, like, I don't know, who's the strongest dudes? Just a bunch of Mesa Primes. Is there ever a point when things aren't just crumbling to dust in front of you? Like, does it? I don't know. I haven't seen it. I don't know if the game scales that crazily. Or if it's just like, alright, you kind of beat the game, have whatever you want.
Reinforcements available. Do you choose to leave now or continue fighting?
Tatsu Prime, Lux Prime Receiver, Prime Fang Prime Hand. Wow, sure, man. I don't know. Oh yeah, the one I don't own yet. Well, I guess that's fair enough. Well, I'm not gonna hang out alone. It's kind of the point. Well, I got some. And I got a Lex Prime Receiver. Power Throw. Alright. I don't know, I might just like do this all off stream. This is getting a little too convoluted. Maybe I'll just farm like a lot of Void Traces. Hey buddy, how's it going? But it's so many.
Now you might be wondering if I'm holding back on y'all. Dream.
I'm genuinely curious if there's any other way to do this. Granum Void. Whom?
Coming up next.
I don't think this is some... That sounds quest, like a quest unlock thing I have to do. But I definitely don't have. What? Yeah, that sounds like something I just don't have. Tashin's brother. Can I click on this without being spoiled? Like, I'm hoping it'll just say the quest. The Deadlock Protocol. Oh, we've done the Deadlock Protocol.
Ordis is sorry. Happy to report that all my good jokes are gone.
Awful. I'm pretty sure we've done the Deadlock Protocol. I remember this. It looks like the thing where you fight at the big pyramid. Yeah. Wait, so how do you get there? Because if I can just do this and like, if there's a better way to farm. Oh, that's what the crowns are for. Oh, now they have much more value to me. Oh, we only get 5. Unless you're on Nightmare, you get 15. But even then, that doesn't seem great. I think sounds like it's probably better to just do a fast mission. Solo? Like, if I could do a capture or something. What else will be fast? Exterminate might be quickish. I mean, at the very least, if we do an exterminate, we can level up our garbage. Oh yeah, I maxed out the dual pistol, so I have to use this rat weasel weapon that I can only assume is pure piss. I might not even use it. But then my alternative is the boar? Oh lord. Duh. Like, devoid of options.
You have remembered well how the Tenno arm themselves.
I hope so. know. I'm kind of like, maybe I just check every once in a while and see if like a capture has appeared. Because like, if I kind of just want to farm a capture mission to get the traces as fast as possible. I think for now, let's just focus on something different, which is the Zaw. See if we can get this achievement progressing. Alright, so let's go back. Let's go to the inventory. We need a dockrum. We need fish scales and pyrotic. Maybe I should write this down. So I don't have to open this every time I want to reference it. Alright, forged in fire. Zaw. We got the dockrum. I don't know if I have enough space on this page remaining, which needs 5k credits, 25 Nissel pods, which are more than good on. I do not like the way this pencil feels. 45 fish scales, should be very easy. 7 Marquis. And then 60 pyrotic alloy, which from mining it last time seemed like it could be a pain. Alright, and then the other parts, the Stung. Two-handed grip for measured strength. Oh, I guess I should maybe just add it all up. Then it would be easier, huh? God, this page is too cumbersome. I can't write on it comfortably anymore. But I'm trying to avoid, I want to use all the space on it. I don't want to just move to a new page. Okay, wait, so let's do this instead. So for the Zaw, I need total. Let's do a total. This is also 5k credits, so I can probably safely assume that it's 15k, which is not a problem, obviously. 55 fish scales, so that's 110. Actually, can I also look up my boy Vargeet? You need fish scales? No. You also need Nissel pods, though. Oh my god. My writing is so bad. But also there's like a bunch of stuff I've erased off this page under or where I'm writing, so it's all like muddy looking. Also this pencil I think is for sketching, not for writing. And I don't sketch, brother. Okay, let me write more firmly so it stands out. Forged in fire. We need 15k credits. And then there's, I wish I could open like all of these at once. Maybe there's a way. Maybe there's a tab that houses them. I guess blueprints. There's a blueprint one, right? There's a blueprint one. Miscellaneous. Oh, they're all is in here. There should be a blueprints tab. Did not name owned. And then maybe because I own one of, I guess I probably own one of like everything. Maybe they all sell for the same thing. I just want them to be on the page so I can be like, yo, they all, they all, for the overlap, it's not a big deal. I just would prefer that. So I don't have to keep typing them into the search bar. I'm hoping, since I bought them all from the same place, they all sell for the same thing. For not really any reason. Other than that they were just kind of made at the same time. I just missed them, I guess. Or maybe they don't sell at all. Maybe that's why. So they don't even appear. But, like, you're ruining my life is all. Oh, I know, here's the Stung. They don't even sell... Oh, wait, there's at least 2 of them on the same screen. I don't remember what the first thing was called. Alright, this has become too muddy. Okay. You know what I'll just do is... What was it? I'll just freaking take a screenshot of it. And then upload it. And then... open it. And then go down to where I saw the other 2 things. Easier. So Nisselpods. Need 25 and then 30. That's math, bitch. What were the numbers? I forgot because I said that's math, bitch. Oh, 55. I should just focus on what I didn't have. I don't know, it's fine. I don't think any of this needs grok drool. It's just you. It's 45 fish scales, it needs 55, this doesn't need any. Let's get this. What the hell was that noise? This needs 60, that needs 60, so 120. That could be a problem. Just based on the last time we went mining for alloys. Was a bit of a mess. Took way longer than I thought it would. Ferrite. Yeah, let's use ferrite. No, I mean... thing doesn't even have a damn eraser on it. I guess they don't want you to erase your sketches. I'm sure there's some logic there. I don't know anything about drawing, so I don't know. This is like the book I'm using to write stuff in, and the pencil, I guess. Well, and also the pencil. To form that sentence properly, have it appeared in my mind. We're both, like, part of, like, a sketching thing I bought when I thought I wanted to do art in college. Well, I thought it'd be... I guess, no. I bought it because I didn't want to do art. I was just in an art course. Like, an digital art course. But then there was also actual art stuff, which I was like, I don't want to do it. I failed that class. I failed all the classes that semester. Actually, I didn't do anything because I hated existing. Also, college, super not for me. Kind of a huge waste of time. I spit on my page. Almost done. Sorry for the wait. It seems like we have a lot of this. Like, I think we can probably get this done today, assuming we don't get horribly unlucky. My biggest worry is the alloy. But I think we mostly have everything. Though I don't know how to get copyright alloy. Or no, I think I have the blueprint for that. Yeah, because I remember buying it, because I was like, we got that. Okay, so credits we got. And I wrote it all down to start knocking it off. Nisselpods are good. This is good. We need we got the ferrite. We don't have the fish scales. Don't have the alloy. We don't have the copyright. We have the Chark Electroplex. We have the Marquise Veridos. We got the claw things. So we have fish scales. 20 copyright alloy. Spinning. Oh, maybe I don't have it. No, I don't. Okay, I'll have to buy that then. Okay, so maybe I bought something. What did I buy then? I don't know what I bought then. I thought I bought a blueprint. So we need Pyroll, which is 20 each. We already have 40. So to make 20, we need 20 Pyroll. So we'll need quick maths. Slow maths, actually. Because we need, what, 60, 80 more. I mean, only 80. It's a 1-to-1 relationship. Fuck. Dude, I had a hard time getting, like, the little amount of alloy I needed that one time. I'm a little worried about that.
A new quest is available in your codex.
Why are you yelling at me? We could have the fish we need already, also. I'm so glad Earth isn't corrupted anymore. I mean, in the game, anyway. Clam. Stretch more. Maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out. I feel like really agitated lately. I don't know if that's like it's probably the same. I'm feeling like it's the same reason I keep stuttering over my words and talking ad nauseum about dumb bullshit that nobody's ever cared about and will never care about. Well met. But, I don't know. I also am like, I kind of don't want to go see my doctor because it feels like he's doesn't really give a shit and he's phoning it in. Feels very, like, every time I go there, I'm like, just feels like he's speedrunning, getting me out of there as fast as possible. Alright, let's cut these. 20 more.
That was expertly done. If you have any fish to spare, I will see they reach the tables of our poor and infirm.
I don't believe you. I think she's gonna have sex with the fish.
I find a use for every part of the beast.
You know what? Just have them all.
Medium size.
Actually,
Teeth.
change my mind.
Still too big.
I want to have one of each left. Why? I don't know. Collector thing.
Size. Good length.
Stop. Is she flirting with me?
That smell is quite something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the inside of an animal. So. Alright, we got 63. We need 110. I hope. Unless I'm terrible in math. Which is likely. But I don't know, you know when you get a doctor that... Like, I feel like a lot of people have dealt with it, where they feel like their doctor is just, like, in and out. They're like, oh, yeah, you're you know, just drink more water or whatever. I mean, he's not really doing that, but, like... I don't know, it doesn't feel, like, very personalized, I guess. Which I feel is, like, a big part of, like, that whole thing. Oh, nice, we can already make it. Yeah, you make... Yeah, okay, we can afford it and we can make it. Okay, so we just gotta get back to the ship and make that. It's like that whole thing where I'm just like, kind of like, every time I go, I'm like, I mean, sure, but I don't feel like I'm, no, I don't know, it doesn't feel all that helpful.
Right, you are, young person.
I didn't say anything. Alright, so we can make the alloy. So we need a pyroll, like 80, 85, I think. 85 pyroll and like 70-ish fish scales. I mean, a little give and take, but just round up to make it easier to remember. Ah, shit. I forgot I was on public. No, First in Line did not join the squad. He actually left. Do I have to go outside? No. What the fuck? Oh yeah, that's weird. I don't know how this works with just me, but like I don't want to deal with like I don't. If he goes into a bounty, does it host like does that host migrate or did he leave? I don't know. I just don't want to deal with it. I also just feel like, for my personal tastes, having other people in there feels, I don't know, a little invalidating of my personal, of the way I want to play. I don't feel like I'm being carried, but I don't know. I still don't like it. I mean, sometimes I do. Sometimes people seem so, like, astronomically strong. Whoops. But usually it's more just like, I don't know. Just preference of doing it alone. I'm just gonna mine. I don't know. I was thinking about going to that big cave we found, but I didn't get a lot in there, so I'm wondering if maybe we can get something. We can get more when we need from other places. Like maybe that cave just has a larger drop table, so we want something more focused. But I don't know. It is all just conjecture. I have no goddamn clue. Did I mess that up? Whoa. Why the rock look delicious? I'm gonna eat the rock, not the man. Hello. So I guess the red ones are what we want? That's where we got the pyro last time. Copper run. Dumbledore? Demon? What the hell is that? Is that something? Are you calling for reinforcements? What is that? Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Alright, that's absolutely not happening. Can a man mine his ores in peace? Forgot there's more hit scan than I thought. Or, that was a bad sentence. I forgot that was more hit scan. And that's the end of the sentence. Right. I wonder if that more focused beam goes faster. I guess maybe that wouldn't necessarily be better. Nith. I'm not sure I'll want that for something eventually. Seems like a rare ore. Sure, it has a valuable use. Never know, never know. Oh my god. Are we gonna be in Copper in Hell? I mean, not Copper in Hell, the Alloy Nightmare? Hello? Mining spots? Hello? 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 Okay! Betrayed by the one thing I thought I could love most in this world? Mining? Gotta dust yourself off and move on, I guess. There's no greater betrayal in this world than a rock that not want to be minded. Should I be worried about that? Okay. Every time, now that I know the red one gives the pyro, every time I get the compliment, I feel an extra twinge of agony. Okay. Grow up. I don't know. You don't like, by chance, just... Fat fuck like you likes to eat, huh?
See you again, eh? No.
Alright. must be a place where the red rocks flow like red rocks. A palace of crimson rocks. Alright, 15 out of 85. People eat bed bugs. Little fun fact for you. Also 15 out of 85 pyro. Like they just pick them up off the bed and pretty cool. Pretty cool fact. Why is the fraction 15 out of 85 people? So I got the carrier is a little wigglier than jigglier than I thought. Like more fleshy and soft. Pardon me? No, I just use a kinetic trap, I think. It's fine. They're not that expensive, I think. Actually, they might be extremely expensive. I don't remember. I'm not an authority on kinetic traps. Huh? Oh, what? I don't think this is how the camera works. What? Okay, that was unsettling to be a part of. Pyro, yeah. Oron, fuck you, man. I had a song and everything. Was that my guy who made that noise? Did he make noises? Dude, that's funny. Can I have the stuff I want, though? They're messing with me. I'm being pranked. I'm being punked. I don't know if it's like... I can't tell if it's like rarer out of the like the potential table, or perhaps maybe it's the least rare, but my sick mining skills... I don't know. Maybe it's... I feel like if that was the case, I'd get like a lot of them. Like way more than 9. But, you know, we got 9 and I'll take that. I mean, yeah, we got them in like decent sized chunks. There seem to be more red rocks on this side of the river. Down by the river. My hand is cramping something fierce. Fuck. I mean, it's not like that bad. But I wouldn't describe it as pleasant. I feel like there's gotta be like a cave, like a big old cave with these red lined walls as falls as the yalls can balls. Copperan pouring out of the veins. I wonder if there's like if I got like a better thing, if I can get like more ores at once. Like I can get the copperan but also some alloy. Cause I know there's like these little like augmentor things on the mining drill, but I don't really know how it works or how you would change them. Maybe at the mining fella? All my fellas. Mining ores. All my miners. That sounds illegal. Bro. I feel like I'm being spit in. You know what we'll do? Let's fish for a little. Which fishing? Is it these ones? Let's fish for a bit. It's a nice rainy eve. Who said that? It's a nice rainy eve. Fish for a little bit, get the fish scales we need, or... Okay. Holy shit, it's Shark Eel. So good to meet you, dude. I don't know, I never know which rod to use. I don't know how you tell or how you would know that offhand. Unless you're some kind of fish aficionado. So. Skirt. Oh, yeah. No way! I mean, they're all tiny babies. I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. Smooth skin, armored plates, and carapaces. I mean, these guys look smooth to me. I don't know. I guess I can tell by how much damage it does. Maybe if it crits, that's what I want. So let's try this one. Oh, that was also yellow. I mean, white. I mean, this has done the most damage so far, then. We just get a bunch of them, get a bunch of the fish scales. I mean, we sacrifice like, what, 10? If not even, like, by sacrifice, I mean, cut up, like, 7 fish, not even. So we shouldn't need that many. Someone talking to me? Is that in the game? Is that in my head? Can anyone else hear that? I mean, I do see the glowing freak on the other side of the water. Okay. Large! Hey. They really didn't have to go that crazy on the beat for fishing. It's like when you get a level in... Every time I get a level in farming in RuneScape, and my ears are not... And I'm not, like, listening to music and don't hear it. So, the fun fact. I feel like a lot of people that even play RuneScape probably wouldn't know that, is that every skill has its own song for when it levels up. I think farming's, like, one of the best ones. I don't do it justice, I promise. And I feel like a lot of people probably play muted. It's real cool. It's a lovely detail. Everyone just leaves? Did I go too far into the water? Is it something I said? I can no longer catch a fish. I don't know, I feel like we're probably good. Like, I can't imagine we need that many. Let's just go until this, Oh, I think it's literally... Oh, no, maybe... Oh, what the hell? Oh, that was fizzling out right now. We'll just go until our, illumination thing runs out. You shan't escape, Shark Eel. He escaped. Is that yawfish? Nah, that's mawfish. They're pissed that they can't just have a lavish life of fishing. They're watching me and they're mad. What holds that note? If you got a small fish, you go as a punishment for sucking every single time. Seems is lasting a lot longer than I thought it would. Me having sex with a dildo, not understanding that it doesn't finish on its own, like a human. Yeah, that bit had too much of a walk. That the joke didn't. It died like halfway through it, but I had to keep going. I really like the idea of a person who thinks a dildo will finish on its own like a person. Dildo's the world's funniest word. What a weird-ass word. Alright, I guess let's just go pick a cave, any cave. Can I have some caves when I'm... No, these are caves. Wait, are these caves? What are these? I don't know what these are. No, they're caves. They're just not many. Let's just pick a cave. I think we went to Mount Nang before, and it was like, okay. Let's go to this one near Twin Horns. I mean, it was okay for what we needed, which is the pie roll. I'm hoping to try a different one and see if we can get more of what we desire. Like, it was great if you just want everything. But I'm here for something very specific. I might just like save time. Oh my god, there's a thumper. Do I have to kill a thumper for Nightwave? I might do that quick. I also switch it up a bit. Is that a thing I had to do? Kill a Tusk Thumper Doma. Alright, I guess if I must, I shall. I mean, there's a Tusk... Wait, it doesn't specify Doma on this. Maybe this might not be the right thing. I might do it anyway, just in case. I mean, I think it'll be quick either way. What the upper tab do? Grow up. Can I just stand on you and have you get cooked? Or does that not work? Are you ability immune? I hate you for that. Alright, just stab him. He just jumps into the ocean, is just gone. Coward. Hello. Yeah, that was not the same thing. I don't know what a Doma is then. What the hell is this literal cock in my inventory? Cock! More fresh shrimp for Buble. That's what the Grenier said. I was just translating. Alright, this is where the pyro resides. He burps! Ah! Let's go. Manifest your dreams! This cave is not as big as I was hoping, but it could be just fine. Maybe this is the Pyro prison. The place of Pyro. Oh! 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 It's happening! Fuck! Oh! I mean, I'm sure it was actually just a coincidence, but... What the wall like warped? That was very strange. Or maybe it didn't, it was just lighting and stuff, but... Maybe it did, because my camera's doing this weird thing again. Shut up. Just... Can't a brother just mine in peace? I'm not even gonna... Okay, maybe I will. I was gonna say I'm not even gonna... Well... well... I was gonna say I'm not even gonna bother with blues, but you know what? Yeah, I mean, you gotta take every opportunity you can. Okay, we do need to take care of all these pricks, though. We're good. I think there's still someone around. No, I keep thinking... Oh, it's because I see what happened. It, like, changes the order sometimes based on something. So I keep trying to pull out my drill, but the kinetic trap is there now. Because of algorithms and the whatnot. Because of Al Gore's rhythms. God, Pyrol sure would make my day. My day is ruined! Is there something on this long rock? Delicious red. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, a guy. Jizz on, dude. What is... Oh, you are nothing to me. Coward! Dickhead. Where are we at? How are we doing? 41. We need... I'm aiming for 85, so... We're already halfway there! Actually, we're not, actually. Actually, we're not. But we're not far off of being halfway, but... Technically, mathematically speaking... Oh, a dirty blue? Oh, beside a blissful red. A benign blue next to a radiant red. Show me the mining... Get off my screen! I'm mining an important gem. Okay. Bless up. Now we're about halfway, which is... We'll definitely have this done today. It's just a matter of... getting there. Sorry, I don't know if you noticed I got distracted. Let's try a different cave. Airfira's Vigil. Sure, I don't know. Mount Nyong was good. It'll always also be positively associated with the time that You know, when Micah came in the chat and we reconnected off of that, and he like when he unexpectedly appeared. Like I was in a damn Pokemon battle. So now every time I think of that cave, I think of that. And I think that'll just forever be the case. They should make a DLC where the Grineer have cowboy hats and they ride around on skates and they go, howdy. They're incredibly well spoken. Looks like you might have got lost, partner. This is a good idea. Tenno scum. Blues? Ews. Ugh. Nothing makes me one pissed off gamer like a 3-dot blue ore. I'll tell you what, nothing pisses me off faster. Gets me going off on one of my Reddit threads that just goes absolutely viral. They really do. I promise they do. Like a blue 3-dot blue ore. Nothing pisses me off more. I'm pissed off. I'm seething. I'm growing. Where are you? Where are you? You know what? Keep it. Oh, my ankle's fractured. I don't want to fight. That's not what I'm here for. Ugh.
I want a future for my children. As long as that future involves dead Tenno maggots.
My God. Okay. I mean, he's so passionate. I might just end my life just so he can have a win. Oh, we're gemmed up. Just get everyone out of here so I can mine in peace. I will do what must be done to mine diamonds. I can't reach it. Just let me... Don't summon more guys. Just let me be. I wanted a simple life for my family. Wait, no, he's summoning reinforcements. I'm gonna shit. Stop! Leave me alone! This is no shit. Loser! To 3D Squelton looking ass. Is that his name? I don't remember. Kind of sits in the same way he did. Oh, and then they top it off with disgusting copper. Bless up. We're looking. 64. We are close. There's so many gems here. Surely we figure it out now. I'm going to kill you. All I crave is peace. Is a good song by Tillian, lead singer of Dance Gavin Dance. Oh, we're so close. The desert calls me. The desert calls me. 4 more and 7 pie rollers agore. Feros. Is this it? The infamous Red Cave? Only talked about in legend, and in passing, and in assing. Eating of assing. What's some more? I've commandeered this cave. You have to leave. I missed. Never mind. I got it. If you wanted resources, you should have mined them before I got here. Well, that was terrible. What do you want? Leave me be! Who did that? Oh, it was a little ball guy exploded. Now what? So I saw someone over there. At least I think I did. The wall's got arms and they're pulling on me. I need 4 pyro and we're done. Blessed day. Get the hell out of here. Wrong way. I mean, I see the gems, but I'm not gonna bother. We did it! 34 minutes. Golly. Just mining some gems and chopping some trees. By that I mean mining some fish. I mean fishing some fish and mining some rocks. Mining some rocks and fishing some rocks. Fishing a fish. Fishing a rock. Mining a fish. Pickaxe to the side of a fish's head. That's a visceral image I don't like to imagine. I wanted to check. Do you?
To doing the impossible is to get out there and bloody well do it.
That's crazy. Okay, you can just give this guy gems. Here, have all of them. You can't have all of them. I'm lying. Just out of interest. I can't remember. I thought you could put like little things on your, that kind of mod your mining tool, but don't remember how to do that. Lady got an attitude problem. Your job is fish. Why are you so upset?
This one will feed the whole family.
Oh, is that enough? I don't think that's enough fish.
Quite handy with a blade, aren't you?
No. Where do you get that idea? Why would you even say something like that? I need 6. All right. Well,
Day's fishing is but I find a use
Well,
for
just-
every the beast.
if I need these fish that badly for like collection's sake, I could just come get them.
That's
It's not that big of a deal.
It's quite something.
And
isn't
you know, this is I don't know. This isn't. I feel like the items.
I do not like your chances, Fedlik, but you're barely symmetrical. Oh, Swazdova, how may hot serve? Sola.
So true. I forgot what I was gonna say. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's the bank system. Like in like RuneScape. Like when I play RuneScape, I love collecting items. Even like Did anyone else hear that, or was that just me? I feel like in RuneScape, even like collecting a lot of mundane items is really satisfying for me. And this, I don't know, something about it. I just don't care as much. I just don't care as much. I feel like I butchered that whole sentence. All right, we need a lot of this. What was the other stuff we needed? First thing else, the copyright alloy. I think that's all we need to craft, and then we're just waiting. We're just waiting. But we're gonna get the achievement. Well, actually, I guess maybe not, because we probably have to wait a few hours to make it. So I guess we'll get the achievement tomorrow. Like if we make the Stung, it's an hour. So we'll get it later. But we made good progress. I mean, we got like 99% of the way there. So, and that's an achievement I wanted to check out. I didn't know what crafting is all would entail, but I guess it makes sense that it was just, you know, more of just exploring the land of Cetus.
Remember the old war, operator? Order seems to have misplaced those memories.
But you know, I didn't know that for sure. So now we know. Now we've experienced it, and it's cool. So yeah, off stream I will do.
Fresh off the line.
Told you not to call me that. Off stream I'll just do. Oh, there's a capture. Do I have axes? I have axes. But axes I don't mind opening. I guess I don't mind opening that one. I don't want to open that one. I want the Excelsior Prime. Don't mind opening that. Don't mind opening that. I do want the... Do I have a Trinity Prime chassis? I feel like the best way to get Void Traces is just...
We received intel that somebody vital to enemy operations is here. Find them and capture them. Void fishers.
Like if my focus is more on getting a lot of traces, I feel like this is the way to do it.
You're near a fisher.
So I don't know, maybe that wave thing is better than it sounds. I don't know, I guess I don't know how long the waves are, because you gotta get like 15 a wave on the hardest difficulty, but if the waves are fast, if they're strong enough, then...
Stay focused. There's a heavy unit approaching.
I did not use my 3 first, a classic mistake.
We cannot let our target know we're here. Track them down quickly.
I think he might be aware. Come on, dude! Don't be like that. Okay, you don't have to scream. It's just the inconsolable, incoherent, ununderstandable, unperceptible, I'm out of words. It's just the void. But with all that other stuff I said at the front of it. I don't know. I don't know where the hand dimension takes him. Could be a fucking Chuck E. Cheese for all I know. He could be having the time of his goddamn life. He could have been isekai'd into a world where he's the protagonist. There's so many options. might have just blessed him.
You have collected enough reactants to open your vault.
So I was crafting a really dark joke in my head, but it's too long and isn't funny and is weird. But like that's kind of my bag. It's like such nonsense. I guess no. You know what? I won't. Wait, is this? Whoa! All right, no, I'll walk us there, but I'm warning you ahead of time. It's not funny. So she says the Juggernaut. I think you made it angry, and then I say, what my mom says to me when she. Wait, no, nope. Wait. Yeah, see, this is why I wasn't finished fabricating the joke in my head. When I intentionally piss off my dad. What my mom says to me when I intentionally piss off my abusive father so she can record his abuse and send it to the police, escaping from our horrible lives. It's something like that. And then it's like the Juggernaut, you made him angry. But it's like, it's not funny. I said that part, right? I couldn't have been more clear. I just like the idea of calling your abusive father the Juggernaut. I mean, it's not that funny. It's still pretty fucked up. I got 9? But this is like a bad roll, right? I don't actually know how it works. The Juggernaut, you made him angry. Requiring... Oh, you have to... Oh, no. Okay. Gathering tips. If you're low on void traces and want to save your relics, run a fissure mission with no relic equipped. What's a fissure mission? Oh, just a void. Oh, yeah, I guess that makes a lot of sense. I could just not open any. Do you get more? Wait. You'll still earn void traces from collecting 10 reactive, but you won't be able to gain any bonus traces from other players because you will not receive one. It is planned to do this either solo or in a dedicated squad, as other people are usually expecting their squad members to have a relic equipped. Resource boosters help. Final void trace reward equals V times 2 to the power of R times 2 to the power of W times open parentheses 1 plus 0.25 times B close parentheses times 2 to the power of C plus 5P. V is the integer of unboosted void trace reward. R is the integer of regular resource booster. W is the integer of resource weekend booster. B is the integer of bonus resource boosters received in endless void fissure missions. C integer of charm resource.
It's to happiness. A combination of heightened dopamine levels and memory.
It's too much. The Juggernaut, you made him angry. Ugh. So many void traces, it's exhausting. So you see, the joke is that the Juggernaut was the father, and and the mother says, "You made the Juggernaut a good job." Child abuse is a real epidemic. It's a genuine, it's a nightmare. It really do. I'm not even being tongue in cheek about it. It's like a real, just like, what a fucking nightmarish thing to go through. I always feel weird about making like excessively dark jokes like that. I mean, it's not even that the joke was dark; it was that it was delivered shittily. But like, also that was kind of also the joke. What are the names of the things? There was the Stung. I can only remember the Stung because it's called a Stung.
Operator, are you pleased?
Nope. I'm pissed. The Juggernaut, you made him angry. Okay, I'll still. If I just triple down, it'll get good. Wait, did I get too much? I might have got more than I needed. That's fine. Fuck, man, what was it called? Is there like a modular, maybe? Aha, yeah. Vargit Ruhong. And then, not you. You. I might have gotten too much alloy, actually. I think I needed... Oh, yeah, that's math, huh? I got 80 when I needed 60. That's whatever. I have some for next time I have to mine a bunch. Which is, I mean, hopefully. Norg brain. Ooh. It's a brain that's from a Norg. It's Norg brain. Oh. Oh, it's done. Or this would say something. Unknown error? Oh, I understand. Fabrication complete. Thanks for watching the stream. So we'll start next stream with getting this Zaw made and getting the achievement done. And we'll have our Void Rig, so we'll be able to do Quest. New War. Or no, will we? Yeah. No, we will not. We can start building the whole Void Rig, which will be like 3 days. And while we wait for the... Why did I come here? I should know better.
With you, little meat. Ooh, what shall we play next?
And then, once we... I guess while we wait for the Void Rig to be built, we'll work on getting... I'll get the Void Traces off stream, hopefully. If I have time, I'm kind of swamped mentally a little bit in the short term. We'll, my brain stopped working. It just turned off. I don't know what I was saying. It's completely gone. I have no idea what I was saying. It's like is no longer there. I don't know. It's left me completely and utterly. Thanks for watching the stream. Don't hit your kids. The moment if I just quintuple down on it, I'll just feel less guilty about making what was the horrid joke. The reality of the situation is I'm taking it too seriously myself, and it's making me feel insecure. But it's not that big of a deal. I can make a Bronco Prime. Hell yeah, brother! I have no space for anything. I mean, I guess that's why I got the Plandom. Among, like getting sick capes. What was I saying before, though? Like for real. I'll try to get the Void Traces off camera. I'm a little swamped mentally in the short term. So hopefully I'll have time. If I can't... If I don't have time to get... well, let's just Exodus. Let's just check for a second. I need Zatu? So I literally have one shot at it. So I guess... Zata. Zatu's a Pokemon, I think. So... We'll need... I guess to try to get more of these. So I guess... I don't know. I don't want to farm, like, a ridiculous amount of Void Traces. As much as I'm usually, like, not that against farming. It just is... Because I need... If I want to do all the Fulmin Prime stuff, too, it's just so much. So I'm kind of... I need to rationalize and, like, consolidate everything before I end the stream. So I can establish properly what I'm going to do off-stream for when I come back on-stream. And, you know, then I know what I'm doing, you know what I'm doing, I can consolidate it all. We can all be on the same page, which is important to me because my brain is weird. And I care too much about things that don't matter. So what do I need? Void Traces. I feel like there was other parts. No, we got the other stuff done because we got the Necromech done. Which I didn't even mark off, which I am doing symbolically because it feels nice to do. Then we'll put the Zaw. So we'll start tomorrow. We'll get the Zaw together. We'll have that achievement done. We'll start building the whole Void rig, which will take multiple days, and then we'll... I'm so torn because I want to try to get Vital Sense off stream. I don't know, I think... where to... Maybe I'll just... I'm just gonna look up where to farm Vital Sense. And maybe they'll just, like, I'm sure, like, it seemed like, at least in the comments of the fandom page, gross, a lot of people were like, you know, Kadesh is the place, but I don't want it to get potentially stolen, and I waste my time, so I find a different place. That's the answer. Yeah, that's not what I want. I mean, I could buy a platinum, but I don't want to. Just give me a location and I go there. What's the best place to farm Vital Sense? This subreddit. If you're on PC, I can give it to you. Just tell me where to fucking go. Okay, I'll just trust the wiki. I don't know why I'm bothering with just looking in other places. Highest chance is the infested salvage mission it did. That's what I'll do. Is it here? I forget where I closed the page already. What's it called? Eris. Ostrus. So this is what we'll do. We'll just do this mission a bunch. And I might forma my Geyer. Nope. There's Geyer. I'll probably form with my Geyer.
If I may say, operator,
And,
your chosen Warframe suits you. Ha, ha.
Optimize. I don't know, but like, I'm at the same problem where I'm like, I don't know, I guess if I had better mods on it, would not be as big of a deal. It's like I have like this stuff, but it's not the best I can have. Like I want not efficiency. Efficiency is not a big deal. Because I feel like I don't need efficiency that much because you use your 3 and you just keep regenning. So if you have high strength, I think you just regen a lot. So like the first upfront cost is high, but it doesn't matter because you'll just keep regenning. At least that's how I think about it. I don't know if it's right. That's just how my perspective. So I think like the fleeting expertise is not what I want because that just lowers my duration. So I think what I want is just strength, and duration. So I don't even know. Do I? Maybe instead I just. Well, no. If I want to level these up, then I will need space. But also, like, they're probably very expensive. I can afford a 1 upgrade, which I will get. It's a big percentage, though. It's like 72 to 81. It's not bad. I didn't even lose a point for that. I don't know. I'm sure I could do much
Your
better.
collection of mods is impressive, Operator.
I wonder if
there are more to be had.
I guess I could do the umbral stuff. I mean, the armor isn't great, but I guess actually wait. Let me try. If I just do this and this, 30%, 83%. This is 100, and this is 30. So it's like it's fine. Like with all three, it's pretty significant, but I don't care about the armor. But this is also only half upgrades. But also upgrading it to full is so expensive. Like just to, hypothetically, just to match on health, I'd have to get, all the way to max rank, which is a lot. It's 130%, 118%. So just the max, it would be like, with 2 umbral mods, I'd have to get to 8. Or not to match, but to, I guess, surpass a little. Which is still insanely expensive. Well, I guess it's not that unachievable. But still, it's a lot. I don't know. I don't know, I'm just trying to, like, figure out how to get stronger. But I'm, like, never sure what the right thing to do is. Ability range, actually. I guess I don't need efficiency if I'm constantly recharging. I guess. I don't know. I'll probably just look at the Warframe page and figure it out. I don't know, I'm just rambling and talking about nothing. We made a lot of progress today. We got a lot of things going. I think. I mean, we did. I don't know. I feel like we made a lot of progress, but maybe I just finalized a lot of my progress from other places. I'll try to get a vital sense. Get some void traces. That's my goals. Thanks for watching. I hope it was an enjoyable stream, but I know better. I'm trying to find the right combination of words to say out loud that makes me feel less embarrassed about what I do. But I think ultimately I'm unmedicated, and I think that's why I feel so horrible about everything I make. I hope. Because then that means if I'm on pills, then I'll stop feeling so fucking insecure about everything. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I guess I always do. Void traces, vital sense. That's it. There isn't anything else. Right? Fuck, I don't know, man. If I remember it, I'll remember it. Thank you for watching. Sorry for rambling. Sorry for my insecurity permeates everything I do and makes it harder to enjoy. And have a lovely evening. See you.